Have you ever gave up hope, looking for a way to cope, all alone in a castle by yourself, knowing you were made to rule, looking like a royal fool, if you only had someone to help. We got to clean these rodents out. There ain't no way we're gonna let them run this place. I'll show them what this king's about. It won't be long before we get them on the run. Here's what I propose we do. I'm gonna count on you, give you all the cheese that you could ever want. If you wanna be your best, put your trap up to the test, buy some super brie and watch the suckers come. Oh yeah, we got to clean these rodents out. There ain't no way we're gonna let them run this place. I'll show them what this king's about. It won't be long before we get them on the run. We got to clean these rodents out. There ain't no way we're gonna let them run this place. Yeah, I'll show them what this king's about. It won't be long before we get them on the run. Have you ever gave up hope, looking for a way to cope, all alone in a castle by yourself? Oh, we got to clean these rodents out. There ain't no way we're gonna let them run this place. I'll show them what this king's about. It won't be long before we get them on the run. We got to clean these rodents out. There ain't no way we're gonna let them run this place. I'll show them what this king's about. It won't be long before we get them on the run. We got to clean these rodents out. There ain't no way we're gonna let them run this place. I'll show them what this king's about. It won't be long before we get them on the
Hello, MouseHunt. Welcome to Feedback Friday. Today is July 24, 2020. My name's Dave. How's everybody in the chat doing today? Hello to everybody. Let's see, there are 147 people. Hello, everyone. Hello, Kyle, Celine, Diamond, Zappy, Yoshira, Ryan, Jean, KDM, Mitchell, Brian. Brian asks, is that the office all day? No, I'm working from home, as most of us are at the moment. So I'm at my home office. Hello from sunny Portugal, says Monica. Well, hello back to you as well. Well, today, the King's giveaway is just around the corner, so I thought we could get last minute player suggestions, feedback, questions, that sort of thing about the King's giveaway. Things to maybe tweak our news post or some of our info. Get questions, that sort of FAQ. I may also warn you here, I might be a little less animated than usual. I've been dealing with a little neck pain this week, so I feel like I gotta like turn in my chair. I can't really turn my neck, but I'm hanging in there. This Tuesday, says Steven. Yes, that is a great segue to get into the King's giveaway. The giveaway is all set to launch on Tuesday, August 28th. King's prize keys and the 10 mystery prize packs will be making a return. Mice throughout the kingdom, they're going to have a chance to drop the King's prize keys, which can be used to open one of the 10 mystery prize packs. So if this is your first giveaway, not too much you need to do, kind of changing your hunting strategy, that sort of thing. You just kind of, you're going to be hunting along. Every mice in the game has a small chance to drop a key. And if you encounter a prize mouse, they will always drop a key. And during the King's giveaway, the encounter rate of prize mice is significantly higher than it is outside of a giveaway. So you'll see a lot more prize mice than usual. So he says robot, Dave. Yeah, I'm feeling like a robot a little bit here. I'm very kind of, my emotions are a little limited. I hope you mean July 28th, not August 28th. Uh-oh. I certainly said August. I meant July. There's my first date mess up of the stream. There will be many more to come. We should start some sort of giveaway prize for whoever spots the first date or calendar-related error that I make. I blame the Mac calendar app for whatever reason when you're looking at it. It's never, as you scroll down, the month kind of changes in a weird way, and I feel like I type out the wrong thing. So yes, if I said August, I certainly meant July, because it will still be July next week. So the giveaways come in July 28th. As well as a quick little refresher, the contents of those 10 mystery prize packs are the same for all hunters, but the order or which prize is in which pack is randomized. So if you open up kind of pack number 2, you might get something different than a friend who opens up pack number 2. But after you open up all 10, you'll find the same 10 prizes in there. And I guess too, what I kind of made a little slide here because I feel like a frequently asked question whenever a giveaway is coming is a little bit of clarity into exactly how do prize mice work, or how do you go about encountering one. And certainly over the game's 12-year history, that's been a little bit different, or it's been revised or changed a few times here and there. So kind of for clarity of this upcoming giveaway, going through the act of how you encounter a prize mouse as well. So kind of broke it down into 3 sections here. You have encountering the prize mouse, then or getting the chance to encounter a prize mouse, then selecting, well, which prize mouse are you going to encounter? Finally, the last step is, of course, trying to capture the prize mouse. So when you go to, during the King's giveaway, or really during any time, but during the King's giveaway it's much higher, recruits and above are eligible to encounter prize mice, although they need to finish the game's tutorial. So that's been something that's been a little different throughout the years because where the tutorial ends may have shifted. But for this upcoming giveaway, recruits and above will be able to encounter prize mice. We've added recruits to the scoreboard as well because the latest game tutorial, it ends kind of mid-recruit, or it may end as soon as you level up, kind of depending on your progress. But the key thing there is the tutorial ends after your horn time goes up to 15 minutes. So, I mean, if you recently started playing, you might remember in the meadow and even potentially into the town of Nadia, you can sound the horn more than every 15 minutes as you kind of learn the ropes of the game a little bit and get accustomed to how it works. So while that horn timer is under 15 minutes, you can't encounter prize mice. So after each encounter, and that's kind of the important thing as well, you need to attract a mouse, but you don't necessarily need to capture that mouse. So as long as you attract a mouse, when your turn comes to an end, you have a chance of triggering an encounter with a prize mouse. Now, during a giveaway, that's about 15% for this upcoming giveaway. In previous giveaways, maybe it was closer to 12, so it's up a little bit. Outside a giveaway, it's about a 1 in 1,500 chance, so over 1 in 1,000, so they're definitely much fewer and further between when there is not a giveaway going on. And like I said, both those values are going to be a little increased. So even when the giveaway comes to an end, I think right now the chance of encountering a prize mouse might be closer to 1 in 1,800, so we've kind of lowered that a little bit. So even when the giveaway ends, there'll be a slightly larger trickle of prize mice throughout the year, or in between giveaways as well. Let me see if I can get caught up on the chat a little bit here too before going to the next section. Q asks, by perform normal hunt routine, does that mean a charm would have an effect on a prize mouse like ultimate charm? Missing a prize mouse would no longer happen. It kind of varies charm by charm. The stats that the charm provides, I believe, would have an effect, but the special effects of charms may not have an effect, but it's kind of on a case-by-case basis. But that definitely goes towards capturing the prize mouse. So once you are eligible for a encounter with a prize mouse, it has to select, well, which prize mouse are you going to encounter? And this is something that's kind of changed a little bit throughout the years as well, but it worked in a very similar way last year, I believe. The Treasure, the Snooty, and the High Roller, they're always added, and as you might expect, the Treasure is the most common and the High Roller is the least common of those three. The Mobster and the Leprechaun, they get added as a potential encounter only if they're not on cooldown. And what that means is if anyone in the game has captured a Mobster, a cooldown activates and says no one's allowed to encounter another one for a little bit. And then similarly, if anyone in the game's captured a Leprechaun, then a cooldown activates and no one's allowed to encounter a Leprechaun again for a little bit. And during the giveaway, those cooldowns are between 1 and 3 minutes. Outside of the giveaway, they're between 1 and 17 hours. So obviously, it's that's kind of the main, not deterrent, but the main challenge in attracting those mice is encountering one when it has come off its cooldown timer, for sure. And if that cooldown timer is off, then you're eligible. They get added to the encounter pool. Still, Mobster being a little more common than the Leprechaun. And again, the kind of Treasure being the most common, Leprechaun being the rarest of the encounter pool. Selects a random mouse for your encounter, and then it's pretty well like a normal hunt after that. It's your trap versus the mouse, and the Treasure is the weakest, the Leprechaun's the most powerful, and so it takes your power, your luck, and it puts it against the power of the mouse. Rashawn says, thanks for the 15%. Yeah, I think the last giveaway ran at 12%, so we kind of tweaked a few things here and there and nudged that up to 15, so there'll be a little more trickle of mice. Jonathan says, would love a Leprechaun or a Mobster. I think I am lucky enough to have captured a Mobster, but I don't even know if I've encountered a Leprechaun. I want to say I've probably encountered one, if I had to guess. Let's check it out. Check out the old prize mice. And we are fixing, or we did fix a bug. It'll be live soon. When you go to the event mouse section, it says 0 to 0, which is a little bit weird. But we are working on a fix there. Yes, I have missed 7 leprechauns in the 12 years. Robotic finally got his first Mobster a couple months ago after around 20 misses. So that is extra lucky to get one outside of the King's giveaway. Nerdboy says, do feroma rift batteries affect the catch rate of prizes? That's a good question, actually. I would have to go and check that. It's, again, a little bit case-by-case basis, some of those special encounters, because the way the prize mice are encountered, it's a whole separate hunt. And so there's some things different, like you don't consume cheese and you don't consume charms. And so some of that comes down to the kind of specific use case scenario of where you are, whether or not that will have an effect. Jot that down. That's a good question. Q asks, can I attract a prize mouse on fail to attract during a King's giveaway? No. So you have to encounter a mouse. And encountering means attracting a mouse, whether you catch or fail to catch. So when you fail to attract, you don't have that chance of triggering an encounter with a prize mouse. Jean says, could be great if there are Shamrock Charms this King's giveaway. Well, the Regal Charms will definitely be around. The Shamrocks come around. We usually kind of have a little kit during St. Patrick's Day as a kind of a small little nod to that. Alex says, oof, miss bronze almost. Yeah. Can I catch a prize mouse on misses? Yes, of course. So it is kind of completely separate there. As soon as you encounter a mouse during the giveaway, you then have a 15% chance to trigger an encounter with a prize mouse, and from there, the result of that original hunt, which spawned the prize mouse right after, has no bearing on the effect or your chance of capturing that prize mouse. Ariel says, will rainbow chests acquired before the giveaway have extreme regals? Yes, so we are updating the existing chests, so that's kind of a little word to the wise. If you're interested in having some extreme regal charms, we've added them to rainbow chests, but that change won't be live until the giveaway goes live on Tuesday. So if you do have some, you may want to hold off on opening them because they'll have slightly better rewards if you open them afterwards. Q says, sorry for the questions, I'm slightly confused. It is a bit of a mouthful to kind of go through that, but basically, as long as you encounter a mouse, whether you catch or fail, now you have a chance to encounter a prize mouse. From there, okay, which prize mouse are eligible to encounter? Pick a random one, then it's your trap versus the mouse. KDM says, should we hunt in high power and luck areas like Hydro compared to low areas like Rift or Law? Yeah, certainly. That's not kind of a bad, little subtle thing. Again, there's not too much you can do because it is very much kind of random. But certainly, higher level players are at a slight advantage because they have better traps. And that step of capturing the prize mouse, it is the Leprechaun is very powerful. So having a higher power trap will help you. I think the luck as well would be useful because they don't have a specific power type weakness. So there's other kind of boss mice in the game, and power is a little better than luck there because they're very susceptible to a power type, whereas the Leprechauns, I don't think they have that same weakness. So both your power and luck will be useful. You want to try to get those as high as you can. But again, the hard part's just encountering. Once you encounter, they are difficult to catch, but in comparison, the encounter is way harder. Actually, let me double check how much power the Leprechaun has to give you a kind of a sense here, or just prize mice in general. My computer's a little slow while I'm streaming. It's kind of a little bit of perspective. So the Treasurer has 4,080 power. So if your trap had 4,080 power, that means you have a 50-50 chance against it. Where the Leprechaun has 27,200 power. So to have a 50-50 chance against the Leprechaun, your trap setup would need 27,200 power. Or to really overpower the Leprechaun mouse, you would need over 100,000 power on your trap kind of thing. Time to bunker down in the feroma rift for OP power boost. Like, I don't think I could check that quickly enough. I suspect the batteries don't have an effect because it's tied directly to the feroma quest, and it only affects those feroma mice. So I could be mistaken there, but my instinct is that the batteries wouldn't have an effect, but maybe that's something I can look up after stream, because it's going to take me a little bit to track that down. I'll probably also want to test it to make sure I'm accurate there, and maybe I can include that in the summary. Brian says, hoping for updated Mobster mouse art like Leprechaun. I don't know, I think I like the Mobster. I mean, it certainly was illustrated a long time ago, but I like the way it looks. I like kind of the depth of it, of him flipping his coin there. And a little bit of smoke coming off the cigar. Steven asks, how long is the event? Great question. It will last for 2 weeks. So let me look at a calendar here. Oh. So the King's giveaway starts. Yeah, see, there's what I'm talking. I wonder if I could grab a screenshot of. That's my error right there. Oh, it's so hard to get. There we go. No, that didn't work. Like, as you scroll, the word August is appearing over top of the last week of July, and that's what threw me off. Apparently I'm not good at using calendars, as silly as that sounds. So the giveaway will start on Tuesday, July 28th. And it will end on Tuesday, August 11. Mitchell asks, is the cooldown for catching or encountering? It is for encountering. Now, from kind of a technical perspective, that operation in the game, like a few things in the game, are not purely atomic. So there is a very remote chance that if two people happen to do the same thing in the same kind of millisecond, then two people could potentially capture a Leprechaun in the same moment, or capture a prize or Mobster or Leprechaun. Those are the only two ones that have cooldowns. So there is a small chance of that happening, but it's kind of a negligible margin of error that kind of deemed okay versus the extra overhead of making it kind of purely transactional atomic to make sure it can't happen. But to clarify, the cooldown is activated when anyone captures that mouse. That activates the cooldown and no one can encounter it for a little while. But certainly if somebody encounters it, then right after someone else can encounter it. It only activates when somebody captures it. And that's kind of tied into the origins of those mice. Obviously, the Leprechaun has a chance of carrying a real cash prize. The Mobster always rewards Super Breeze, so the cooldown's a little bit of a throttle so that we kind of have an influence in exactly how much prizes go out. So kind of to make sure at the end of the giveaway there aren't 2 million in cash prizes we owe or anything. That's why the cooldown exists. Limited Fantech says, does an ultimate charm carry its effect over the prize mouse? I'd have to double check that as well. I'll note that down. I know in the past it hasn't, but the prize mice have worked differently, so that may have changed since then. Hugh asks, random suggestion, turn on Hope Mouse into a prize mouse so it gives the feeling of hope is everywhere and people aren't forced to hunting and training grounds for it. Yeah, a few other people have suggested that as well. Be interested to know what other hunters think as well. Howard says, what's the timeline for Ronza looking like? She'll come after the giveaway ends. Jonathan says, are there any charms that do not affect prize mouse catch rate? Seems like there was an instance of missing a prize mouse with ultimate charm arm. Yeah, I'd have to double check that. I think that's when they worked a little differently. Might have been before they were the bonus encounters. But for sure, I can say the power and the luck will affect. So having like an ultimate power charm, if you happen to encounter your prize mouse while you still have one of those armed, it'll give you that extra power towards capturing it. And the kind of nice thing is that encounter does not consume cheese or charms, so you get the benefit of those stats. But it comes down to kind of how the charm works on a technical level, whether or not it will apply its effect during that bonus hunt as well. Brian asks, what's the drop rate difference between a pot of gold and a satchel of gold? That's an interesting question. Off the top of my head, I think I could check that relatively easily. Ooh, why did I close that? Because it's going to take a while to open again. Ooh, you know what? I don't have the... Actually, I can't... Yeah, that was silly. I don't have the giveaway because I was working on a few other projects. I don't have that checked out at the moment, so I can't even load up the giveaway coded. I know it has... Has it changed? Yeah, I think it was tweaked, actually. The satchel is more common than the pot of gold, though. Johnson says, since there are no longer real cash prizes, why is there no longer necessity? There is cash prizes. When you capture a leprechaun, there's a chance of getting a cash prize. We did change it from always having a cash prize to just a chance so that we could have more leprechauns captured. But similarly as well, it carries Super Brie. So as well as giving away Super Brie, which has kind of a monetary value as well. Robotic says the Mobster is cool. Imagine that, 2 million. Yeah, Jason also agrees, like maybe the prize Hope Mouse should become a prize mouse. Some of the optics on that are a little bit weird in that to me the kind of the theme of a prize mouse being kind of a special extra rewarding kind of thing, but I think we could maybe frame that well enough. Eileen says, hi Dave, are we back to starting things on Tuesdays? Yes, so for a little bit there we were using Wednesday as our kind of default launch or deploy date, but now we are kind of back on a Tuesday schedule. Juno says, what is the chance of a leprechaun dropping a cash prize? Off the top of my head, I don't know. I really should have checked out. That was kind of silly of me to... I didn't even think about that. But I have the Floating Islands Rift treasure maps and a journal theme selector update checked out right now, but I don't have the giveaway. Ooh, this is... Computer's mighty slow streaming. As well as people can elect to, if you do get that cash prize, you can elect to take it in Super Brie as well. But yeah, I think it's around 5% if I recall. I think it's a little different than last year. How long is the chance to get a leprechaun when you encounter a prize mouse? That is between 2 and 3 minutes. It's kind of pseudo-random so that it doesn't kind of sync up with any specific cooldown. Typically somebody will immediately encounter it. What is the attraction rate of the Mobster Leprechaun? Let me check the latest spreadsheet. It's actually decent, but like I said, the main challenge is encountering one when it's off cooldown. That's why they're rare. When they're actually off cooldown, they get added to the encounter pool. They're relatively common. Was it mini events? Yeah. It's a little tough for me not using my monitor. I'm kind of hunched over, and that's causing me a little discomfort. What do we got here? King's Giveaway 2020. Yeah, Mobster or a Leprechaun, I believe it's about 27%, 25%. So that's pretty good. Kind of when you get to that step where, okay, you've passed the 15% chance, now you're going to encounter a prize mouse. When it's selecting the prize mice, if none of the prize mice are on cooldown, then the Mobster and the Leprechaun get thrown in the mix with the Treasure, Snooty, and High Roller, and then it's like a 1 in 4 chance that the one that you encounter is going to be the Mobster or the Leprechaun. But like I said, the main deterrent there, or the main thing that makes them so rare, is that you can't encounter one for a few minutes after someone else has captured one. So it's and you kind of don't know when that's going to be. That makes it a little bit random when they're going to pop up and actually have a chance of being added to the encounter pool to begin with. Gene says, fun, crazy question. Are mouse hunters trapping or killing the mice? I think that's up to you and your imagination as well, and the type of trap you use. I know kind of since the game's origins, there was a group of players that called themselves the Nonviolent Mouse Removal Committee, MVMRC. I think that was what the C stood for, and hence the MVMRC portal trap in the game that was paying homage to them. And they're trying to go through the game as long as they could without using kind of a lethal version of a trap, or something that would peacefully capture the mouse to release it. Quinn asks, do you know how many mobsters, leprechauns have been caught so far? Is it impossible to know since global stats have been down? Yeah, that's definitely starting to kind of nag on me a little bit as well. That needs a pretty big technical overhaul to get that up and going. It kind of reached the point where some of that really old and dated code from long ago just isn't holding up to the sheer volume of mice that are being captured. So that kind of needs to be reimagined, repurposed, and done in a way that is going to scale better with a large amount of data. But certainly when the giveaway starts, there will be a scoreboard up, and it counts the number of captures per title. So on this camp section is a banner, and it's the same. You click that banner, and that's where you open up all your mystery prize packs and use up your keys. And down below it is a scoreboard, and it will have recruit all the way up through the rest of the titles. And you can see how many of each prize mouse has been captured by each hunter, and there's a grand total at the bottom. So you can kind of watch how many prize mice go out while the giveaway is active. Brian asks, can rainbow maps not be locked so we can choose the size of the map? That was kind of on the feedback list. We ultimately kind of didn't really have time to look into or address that, and we thought it might be something that we revisit during the Relic Hunter season. But just kind of prioritize some other things, because it would kind of is something that would apply to even more than just rainbow maps. Ariel says, is it possible to have an item which could be purchased with King's credits that would increase a map's difficulty? I mean, that's interesting. It might be tricky to apply that to every single map. You can certainly get rare map dust to increase the reward, but nothing to make it more difficult. And I think making it more difficult would also make sense to make it more rewarding. So it might be a little bit tricky for us to go through the entire game and update every single map and kind of curate that. Trevor says, wait, floating islands, rift treasure maps. Okay. Yeah, maybe I misspoke there. So from a technical perspective, I have a few versions of the game sitting on my laptop, like many of the devs do as we work on things, and you call them branches if you're not a programmer. And I currently have 4 versions checked out. I kind of have the main production version. I have a copy of the game that's running the floating islands as we work on it. I have another copy that's running. I've been working on Valor Rift treasure maps as well. That's kind of been my little side project. When I find myself, it was several weeks ago, I was waiting for other devs to kind of finish up some stuff for floating islands, or like I did a little bit, and I handed it off to somebody else. I was like, okay, I need a week to do my thing, and then I'll hand it back to you. And that left me a little light on tasks, so I kind of picked up my side project was to work on Valor Rift treasure maps. And so I have another copy checked out there. And then finally I have a journal theme selector update that, if all goes according to plan, should be out pretty soon. I was checking that out. I think Andrew, Maxine, and Parham, I think all put some work into that. And that'll revise, so both on browser and mobile, how you select your journal theme. They've kind of made a nice little quality of life improvement as you hover on browser anyway, because you can hover on browser. You can't really do that on a phone. You'll see the different styles of journal theme as well, so you can kind of preview them without actually changing your journal theme. Will Ultimate Charm be added to the prize pool? I don't believe that's in one of the crates. I believe Baitkeep Charms, I think the 10 main packs have all remained the same. I think the bonus prize packs, that's another little change we made. Instead of calling them bonus prize packs, their name has been changed to mini prize pack to hopefully better align with their content's better perception that they're smaller. So they have similar things that you find in the mystery prize packs, but a much smaller quantity. So instead of finding several regal charms, you'll find a single regal charm in those packs, but it's a use for your extra keys. That might also be a good note to keep in mind that shortly after the giveaway ends, all King's Prize keys will be removed from players' inventories, so it's important to use them up during the giveaway. And when it comes to an end, make sure you open up all your mini prize packs. Is anyone else struggling to hear? I can't turn the volume up higher. Well, I'll put my mic closer to me. Hopefully that'll help. I suppose it is off to the side a little bit. I should probably get a better microphone at some point with the frequency of streaming here. I plugged in my probably 19... Whoa, I don't have enough slack to hold it up that far. I don't know when I bought this. I probably bought this mic in like 1998 or something. It was a long time ago. Can we add a useful charm to the, like Chrome charm to the tournament hall so that tournament tokens can be useful at higher levels? That is kind of on the back burner, but we would like to kind of readdress tournaments at some point. Will Zugzwang's ultimate move be added to the prize pool? No. Oh yeah, volume did go down some. Well, let me see. I got the mic sensitivity turned up all the way. Maybe it was a bad idea to use this external mic, but my laptop starts, the fan starts going in a hurry once streaming and encoding video starts happening. Vintage mic, yep. I think I bought this in my teenage years to play Team Fortress Classic when they added voice chat. I'm like, wow, I need a microphone. I suppose I could also plug in my earbuds. That's usually what I use in like calls and stuff for work. Starting a fund for Dave's new mic. You know what? I should probably just take the plunge and actually get a good mic. It's been long overdue. We'll shift gears here a little bit from the feedback. What is going on here? Oh no, I lost. Uh-oh. Well, I messed something up. That isn't meant to have the trivia question there. Alright, well, I broke my second slide here. The best laid plans fall apart sometimes. But we were looking for some feedback, and here I suppose I can just make this bigger. As we pull up as we kind of put the finishing touches on Floating Islands, today our goal is to have it pretty well completely playable, including kind of the final kind of the boss mouse encounters and all that stuff. I'm going to try to make this bigger. Here, I'll restore the colors. I make it a little less vivid so that the text comes through better. So as we kind of put some of the finishing touches on Floating Islands, one spot for feedback has been kind of how we handle when a run comes to an end, if I can use that terminology. So you can even think in other areas, kind of the labyrinth, you're in Zokor, and when you finish off and you run out of stealth, you go back to the beginning of the labyrinth. Or in Fort Rocks, when nighttime comes to an end and you're put back in day, that's kind of when the cycle restarts itself, where you come to the end of a run. Fort Rocks as an example, or actually Valor Rift as well, when you finish going up or you run out of time in the tower and you're back outside the tower. You're using a different cheese in both Fort Rocks and Valor Rift inside, or like during the run, than you would during that kind of farming phase where you collect the cheese that then you use during that phase. And so what we did there was we made the mice outside the tower drop a lot of elixir if you're hunting with Gauntlet String Cheese. So if you hunt with Gauntlet String Cheese, the Elixir Maker Mouse comes out a lot more. It drops the elixir, and so it kind of replenishes it in a way where it's kind of almost replacing the cheese that it is eating. We did something similar in Fort Rocks with meteorite pieces as well. Now for Floating Islands, we're trying something different. We kind of want to run it by to make sure that this is a good idea or something that would be appreciated. We first thought about it because the Floating Islands involves almost every power type in the game, so there's a lot of power type, or a lot of trap switching, which becomes a little bit tedious. So we put together, I think Andrew called it the Trap Library at the moment, and you can save a power type per island. So for example, in this screenshot here, I was on a forgotten island, and when I visit that forgotten island, the trap library, I can save a forgotten setup, and as soon as I travel to the forgotten island, then I will arm whatever forgotten trap or whatever setup I want to use. It probably should be a forgotten trap that you arm, though. And similarly, then, when the run comes to an end, you're put back on like a launch pad, and that's where you're collecting cheese that you use on the islands, and you can save a setup for that phase. So when you come to the end of that run, you can set it up so you automatically change your cheese, your weapon, your base, whatever you want to change, and so you go back into the farming mode. Grant says, wow, awesome. And now the alternative to that would be to make the mice on the launch pad, when they come, they eat like that sky cheese or whatever we end up calling it. They would drop a lot of the ingredients to make it, so similar to like how the elixirs were working. Maddie says that's a cool thing. Musical Penguin says, I love everything you're saying right now. Okay, great. Very good indeed. Been waiting so long for some automation. Wowzer, good idea. And this is a little bit of a trial run because we'll keep getting feedback. So it would kind of increase the scope of things a little bit. We didn't want to go overboard, but kind of seeing how this goes out in floating islands, we can get feedback. And a few people on the team think like, well, maybe we can work this into more areas where there's more of a library of setups that you like, and tying that to specific kind of spots in the game of, when I do this, this is the trap I want to use for that. We may want to work on the feedback a little bit, because I could imagine you set a favorite setup for the iceberg, and then 3 years later you go back to the iceberg, and then you don't even know, it's like, wait, my trap changed, but I have a better hydro trap now. Oops. So it'll need a little feedback to make sure you know or you remember that you set that thing up. Mark says, I don't like the nest cache mechanic like loot drop from ice. Well, in floating islands, they are dropped directly. So this summary here that you see, and again, it's a work in progress, kind of grabbed a screenshot that was shared. The mice drop the loot directly, so it's more like Valor Rift. At the end of a run, you can see the summary of what you got. And that's another area as well, kind of wondering how you liked it in Valor Rift. So think about if you've been to the Valor Rift, when you end a run, you go back and you're outside the tower and your run is completed. And then on the HUD, there's I guess that was a cache, yeah. The mice drop loot, but it was both. Here's what you got for reaching a certain floor, and then here's what you found as loot. So it felt a little more intuitive because you have to click something to claim it. Like a nest, similar to how the nest works. But here, there is no sort of cache. There is no nest. All the loot is dropped by the mice, but it still feels nice when you kind of finish or visiting or exploring an island that you could see, okay, what did I collect? How many items did I find while I was on that journey? It's also a nice kind of shareable moment. You could share that with people, that sort of thing. But is it a little bit awkward when you come to an end of a run, you've explored an island, you're back at your launch pad, ready to select the next island you want to explore, that there's just kind of a button, and right now I think Andrew called it the flight log. Check my flight log, and you can see what you what you found as loot. It's a little weird that button's floating there, even though when you click it, nothing really happens. No items go in your inventory. You're just viewing what did you see there. Yeah, Senna says Zolcor sums it up. Yeah, this is kind of a similar way, but not in a journal entry, in something more visual, because obviously the journal entry is very kind of tight. Especially with a lot of items, it gets very wordy. And so we thought it'd be nicer to be able to see things in a more visual way, see all the icons of the items that you found. The word you want is a summary of your loot. Yes, it's a loot summary. And it's a little awkward as well. Like, should that be something... so kind of a quick little high-level thing here. You go and you visit this forgotten island. You find a bunch of loot. You can see some examples there in the screenshot. You found some sky ore, some sky glass, a cloudstone bangle, some points and some gold. So that's already in your inventory. You already have those items. Then you run out of hunts on the forgotten island. You've explored it, and then you're back at your launch pad. And now, on the HUD, there needs to be a button to open up this interface, because that may have happened on a trap check when a friend brought you on a hunt. It might happen passively. Is it weird if that kind of blocks out the whole HUD? Should it just be a small button? When you click it and you view your summary, when you dismiss it, should you be able to see it again? Right up until the moment you choose to leave and explore a different island? Should you have to look at this interface before you're allowed to visit another island, or should it be a very optional thing? Alex says, is this something you can scroll back through? That would be neat. At the moment, that might be a bit of a challenge for us to kind of historically record these, especially as time marches on and you've explored hundreds of islands. Can we have something like you can see what's in your highest floor for Valor Rift? I don't know if there's as much of a high score. It'll be more kind of mouse-based. John says, what does explored 50% mean? That might be better saved for maybe a more kind of sneak peek at the floating islands when we get more specific feedback. But basically, when you visit an island, every hunt you take, you're thematically you're exploring it to find new loot drops and discover new resources. But at the same time, you only have so long to explore it before the enemies kick you off the island. So depending on your catch rate and how well you did, you might fully explore the island and unlock all the loot drops and get as many rewards as you can, or you may not fully explore the island. You may not discover everything that's hidden on the island. Brian says, RIP making that much gold and points in 50 hunts. Those are placeholders, so it'll be significantly higher than that for an Archduke area. Something tells me this little run-through probably wasn't using the best trap. Cheryl says, so wait, I don't have to wait till I'm booted out of tower to find what was in the cache I got to. In-game, no, there's no way. I mean, you could check the wiki and you can see, because it's static, this floor equals this much points in gold. It would be kind of neat to be able to look that up at any point or a preview. If you were to retreat, this is what you'd get. I guess actually, come to think of it, if you retreat, I think you do get a preview of what you get. Just don't click the retreat button unless you're ready. Put it in the journal as well, please, says Catherine. That's a good suggestion. Alex says, I assume 50% explored means there was loot left on the island. Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, you didn't kind of fulfill the whole potential of the island. There was more you could have found, but that's sometimes it may be beneficial to leave an island before you fully explore it if if you feel like there's nothing left to find that interests you. Would it be possible to save the logs like the one to view in the marketplace history? It would be possible. I don't know if we could kind of pull that off in time. It would be a significant kind of technical engineering challenge for us. As Brian asks, 6k points and Hunt says less. Is this a Grand Duke or Archduke area? So these are all placeholder values, and maybe just to avoid any sort of bad feels here, I'll do this. And then he says, I always take a screenshot for future reference. That's kind of a neat little way to do it. Is the loot similar to Fulmina at Mosu Picchu? Well, mice have drop tables, but not quite the same. Answer the question, changing the setup to the one we saved for collecting the cheese loot after the island makes more sense. Well, think about, though, if you're away. So similar to running out of stealth in Zokor, you only have so many hunts to explore an island. Maybe I can grab a screenshot, actually. Picture's worth 1,000 words. Let's really hope this works right now. Hey, all right. Let me take a few hunts here to make this screenshot slightly more relevant. And here I'll swap. Whoa, where's going? My background's moving. There we go. And I'll find the correct screenshot, hopefully. This looks pretty good. Okay. Whoa, why is it so big? Get out of here. What are you doing in my screenshot? Alright. So similar to something like Zokor, you only have so many hunts to explore the island, and you're trying to fully explore the island before you run out of time. So you might be asleep. You might be away from the game. Friends are bringing you on hunt. Trap checks are happening. You're not active there. When that, you see in the corner there, 37 hunts remaining. When that hits 0, you leave the island and you're back on a launch pad where you can collect cheese to start your next exploration. So if you're away from the game, if you're asleep when that happens, or you're just not watching the game, then you're with that library thing, your trap will just change for you, so you switch back. For instance, this is a physical island, but maybe on the launch pad, School of Sharks is your best trap. Any power type works there, so you want to switch back to your School of Sharks. They'll just happen for you while you're away. Again, you're not there to like click a button, and so that's not kind of a logical moment of when you'd also see the loot that you found on the island. If there's a HUD that shows how much of each resource you see, I don't need a summary. Yeah, for sure. I think it's a little, it feels good to be optional, because I think it's the type of thing some hunters like. But once you get in the groove, or it's made something that you don't care about every single run, but something that you want to look at maybe on some of the harder islands or more rare islands. Era says, with the release of Floating Islands, we have enough boss mice for Elite Slayers? Maybe. I don't know if it'll come out right at the release of the Floating Islands, but we might be there. Free Schmidt asks, did Dave say something's coming out, or just let us know how it's shaping up? So we went over the King's giveaway at the start here, fielded a few questions and kind of final feedback as we prepare to launch that next Tuesday. But now we're kind of getting a sense of how you like to look at loot summaries, or how you feel about loot summaries in the areas where there's sort of a phase that you complete and you can see everything you found. That said, this one's a little different because unlike Queso Geyser or Valor Rift, everything's just dropped as loot drop. So it's purely kind of, I don't know if cosmetic's the right word. It's superfluous. It's a little extra summary. It's just kind of something that's interesting to look at, but you don't actually need to open it and look at it to claim any of those rewards. Anything to share about area rewards? Still kind of working on that a little bit. That was kind of a big kind of push this week. And that's going to be a pretty busy afternoon for a Friday afternoon to kind of wrap up a lot of the data entry. There will be some traps to earn, though. Can we have multiple cheeses and multiple HUD consumable instead of just one? No, there's just one of each, and I mean, it's a balancing act depending on how the sort of gameplay is set up. But I felt like there's enough complexity in everything else. There's a few kind of new rules to learn. I'd put it somewhere between the Labyrinth and Bristlewood's Rift in terms of complexity level. So I don't think it needed the extra complexity of cheese. I don't think it would have added. Any more interesting depth to the area. To have like different cheese per island, it would probably just make it that much harder to remember. What do I use where? Whereas it's pretty easy on a physical island. Hey, I got to use a physical trap, and then we have this. We're toying with the names, just sky cheese or like a whipped cream cheese. We're trying to think of light and airy flavors of cheese. And kind of well, anytime I'm up in the sky, I have to use that sky cheese paired with a power type that's appropriate to the island that's named after the power type. That felt not too hard to keep straight. Kitty M asks, do all the islands give totally different loot? Is there no common loot? No, I think it's pretty well all common loot. At the moment, anyway, we might kind of add some above and beyond stuff at some point where it gets a little more power type specific. But in that regards, you have some agency of you might want to pick an island where you have a stronger trap. But it does kind of come down to when you look at the islands available to you. There might be, for instance, a really good law island, but because you don't have the best law trap, you go with a slightly not quite as good physical island because you have the Chrome Monster Bot and you can do a good job there. Brian asks, so what's the gang boss mouse doing there? Well, she might make an appearance. We'll see. Will there be a Floating Islands Grand Tour? Certainly the treasure maps that we have planned for this are a little bit different. I'm a little bit skeptical whether we're going to have time to include them in the initial release or whether, like other releases, they're going to have to come as an addition shortly thereafter. But they will work a little bit differently where you're going to have to unlock the ability to be able to do the maps. And it's going to require very high-level dirigible to be able to explore and find the unique islands where the scroll cases are hiding. When do Season 7 maps end? Tentatively, probably November, but that is kind of not in stone. KDM says, can you add 2 more random mice so the Floating Islands can overtake Sunken City most mice released? Interestingly enough, there are a few spots where we thought, oh, it'd be cool to add a mouse there and here and there. I don't know if we'll have time to illustrate any more mice though. We're kind of down to the wire, especially for art. Is this region open for at least Grand Duke? It will be in the Hollow Heights region unless we change our minds there, but the area itself will be Archduke requirement. Chong says, does it have stronger traps like Queso Geyser or Buff Valor Rift or higher version than Mousu Pichu? A little bit too soon, open to feedback there, but certainly kind of the most kind of high or highest scope reward structure that we could think of would be new traps for all the power types that are used in the floating islands. Whether or not we need a little more play testing to figure out whether the reward structure kind of has enough kind of meat to it to warrant that many new things that are there to earn without it being too repetitive. So a little too soon to go into there, but certainly open to hear what players and hunters think of that. Jonathan says, what do you recommend to prepare for floating islands? Well, I suppose there's not too much you can do other than seeking out new and kind of best in power type traps for every power type except Rift and Parental, I guess. How powerful of a trap for the respective types do we need to tackle this area? They're definitely, being an Archduke area and being one of that's so kind of massively epic, it does kind of make the assumption that you have pretty well all the best equipment to go and tackle it. And being that there may be some upgrades to those traps in these areas, there's even room to increase your power even further. They might are a little challenging even with the best traps. So I suppose that could be another spot to prepare, is if there's any really powerful charms that you could go and collect or work on crafting. Those would be handy to pick up. The very best suggests to use RSP Gold to buy Slayer Scrolls. Yeah, definitely want to look for a use for a few items like Shiny Precious Gold. Whether it's Slayer maps are the best use, I don't know if they are for that. They do kind of need, the rewards for Slayer maps are so good, they do need to be kind of rare to balance the potent rewards that they have with them. Spagar says, assuming we have all the best traps, will the different islands all have all the same catch rate? No, they're slightly different, but they're close to it. And I guess the difference being the power types that have a little bit more room for more upgrades, the mice there are a little bit harder, knowing that down the road there may be better traps for those power types. That said, when we're putting together any area, we always look at 100% catch rate. What does that look like? And make sure we're kind of comfortable with that and it doesn't push it past the Archduke level. So like a specific example, the amount of points in gold you earn per hunt, there's sort of a value we look for every title. And then we kind of look at an area, okay, if you could get 100% catch rate in this area, would your points in gold per hunt be higher than that title? And you know, it shouldn't be too much higher than it's title appropriate. That said, because fail to catch plays a bit of an important role here, the mice do have a little grit to them. So there's a little bit more wiggle room there. Brian says that the game balanced around having all 8 Rift Valor Price Rift pages. Well, them being brand new, older areas, I suppose not, but this coming after Valor Rift and kind of being a really high-level Archduke area, yes, it does take into account and it assumes that you've gone and unlocked the entire Valor Rift Codex, and so you have all those little tiny bonuses to give you that little extra edge with all the power types that have a bonus there. Q says, my hope for floating islands map pieces that should be a challenge to get. It's been a long time since we have a map piece that is hard to get. Yeah, we've had a little bit mixed feedback there in terms of kind of the fun part is doing the island and or doing the area, and so the map piece taking too long sometimes doesn't always have the greatest feedback on it, but similar to Labyrinth, we're looking for at least a little bit of a narrative journey. Ashley asks, do we need this new cheese or is it helpful like Gruyere in the Labyrinth? Yes, I'd compare it closer to Gruyere in the Labyrinth. It's not a necessity. You don't fail to attract if you're not using it, but to get the best results, it certainly helps you achieve your objectives a lot quicker and a lot easier. Bront asks, what are the main rewards? So like I said, it's not set in stone. We're open to kind of feedback there. Probably some traps, upgraded versions of traps for the power types that are involved in the islands there. As in terms of how much of the RNG top prize will be, probably a little less than some other areas in the game. Like, so we try to get like we've said in the past, try to get a nice variety of reward structure. So this one's going to be, is more likely to be kind of a time commitment. That's it, some maybe kind of upgrades. So there might still be kind of some things you could get to help you, but there'll definitely be kind of lots of large quantities of items to collect. Alex says, please don't consume old traps to make the new ones. It's so painful for collectors. Well, we try our best to kind of keep that in mind for sure. For instance, like the most recent Celestial Dissonance trap, for example, right? Like that doesn't consume the time split dissonance. It's just a requirement. And that kind of is a nice best of both worlds where you feel that, hey, I'm getting some value out of my old trap still, especially if the new trap comes along and it's a little too, it comes, you know, the pacing, it's unlocked relatively quickly after you've unlocked that last one. It makes it a hard decision. It's like, well, should I even bother with this one? So we do that where we can. That said, some of like the, for example, Chrome upgrade kits, so just inherent to how they work. You have to smash your trap to upgrade it with the Chrome, meaning you lose the original in the process. But a little bit of that is part of the extra challenge of calling yourself a collector, is you need to be up for the extra challenge of seeking out some very rare and sometimes expensive items. Ben asks, what kind of scoreboard will this area have? Well, what kind of scoreboards would you like to see? Kind of knowing how it works, I don't think there's too much in terms of way of, for instance, like Zokor, highest stealth and that sort of thing, but definitely room for most captures of certain mice. Raymond says, is it released before or after Ronza? Most certainly after. Maniac says, why not intro a new type of trap? Just not quite there yet. Enough going on where you didn't need a new power type. Q says, suggestion, don't show exact gameplay of area of Feedback Fridays being kept as a surprise. Well, one of the benefits of doing those sneak peeks is it's a chance to get feedback before it's actually live. So we can actually change things before it's put into the hands of players to start playing through it. We definitely got a little off topic of loot summaries. But I think got a little bit of a gist that, hey, not everyone finds them absolutely mandatory. It's kind of a nice to have, but not a need to have. And so with that in mind, I think the takeaway, at least for now, is to make them somewhat optional, a little bit out of the way, so they're there for the people who want them, but maybe not make it so in your face that you literally have to view and dismiss it before you can move on and do the next thing. If you want, you could not look at it to begin with. Q says, will retiring parental come with the floating islands? That has been kind of on my mind to do that, and it's not like it would take very long. But it's kind of on the lower list of priorities. KDM asked, will the map piece come out a week earlier? I would like to do that. It's kind of a decision that we'll make a little bit closer to release as we see kind of what time we have for sure. All right, on that note, I'll switch over to the trivia. I just deleted my backdrop. Uh-oh. What did I do? I've messed up. All right, today's trivia question has to do with the giveaway. That's what we started with today. And if I can find text. It gets harder for me to look down. I'm looking forward to using a monitor again. Oh, where is text? Why am I blind right now? Come on. There we go. Took me all too long to find. Whoa, that's big. Yeah, we'll word wrap that sucker. Alright, today's trivia question is, which mouse was introduced as a prize/giveaway mouse, but later changed to a regular encounter? And I think Mac is the first one to get the answer that I was looking for, and that was Master Burglar. Although honorable mention to the long-lost iTunes mouse, which hindsight, copyrighted term, wasn't the best idea to put into the game early on, but yes, before the Mobster, the Rockstar mouse used to be known as the iTunes mouse because you won an iTunes gift card when you captured it. but we certainly had a lot of trouble sending those gift cards to a few international countries. Became a bit of a technical challenge. So that idea was put to rest, I think, relatively quickly. That became the Rockstar mouse. But Master Burglar, yes, when the Master Burglar was first added, it was added as part of a giveaway. And during that giveaway, only one person could capture the Master Burglar. And I forget what the cash prize, it may have been $2,500 or $5,000 cash prize for capturing the Master Burglar. And that was then later retired to become a regular encounter in and dropping the Crown Jewel. A single-use prize mouse rather than a regular. That's a good way of putting it, I think. So I'll put the reward link up as well. Did I try this? I don't think I tested this reward link. Look at me. And hey, it works. All right. So the reward link in the chat, I'll put it up on screen as well. We'll edit this text to be a link. But even if you're watching this recorded on one side of the stream, depending on the interface you're using, maybe below if you're on mobile, the stream chat should be there as well where I pasted it in. Yep, Rob says, only the first Master Burglar was a prize mouse. Yes, it was a prize mouse that we used during a giveaway to give away the grand prize as part of that giveaway. But then later it got changed into be just a regular mouse that you just capture under more normal circumstances. Alex says, will the Leprechaun cooldown be reset with the giveaway starting? That's actually an interesting order of operation questions. Off the top of my head, when I think about it, the way the cooldown works is it records the timestamp that anyone in the last time anyone in the game captured a Leprechaun, and then it compares it against the current cooldown value. So technically it's not reset, but the cooldown will be decreased. So if the coincidence happens where somebody captured a Leprechaun mouse kind of 5 seconds before we start the giveaway, technically no one can capture a Leprechaun for a few minutes until after the giveaway has begun. But it should use the new giveaway kind of cooldown, or the shorter cooldown value. Alex says, please give Rib 3081 coming in soon. Well, 3000 catches a Calor, you should have a whole pile of gold. So that's definitely a nice little safety net. If you don't get a Rib drop for a while, those mice were worth quite a handsome amount of gold. So you will slowly accumulate enough gold to purchase a Rib. Q asks, is this new area intended to take longer than Valorift to complete the adventure and get all the good stuff? Well, Valorift certainly takes a long time as well if you unlock all the pages in the Codex book. So it might be somewhat comparable. I wish I didn't delete that backdrop, because now I have to find that image again and adjust the colors again to make it slightly dull so text looks okay at least next to it. Art. He says, a Rib is almost 90 million gold. Well, if you've captured 3,000 Calor, then you have earned, I wish I had commas in this because it's about 225 million, so you could get the Rib twice. Mrs. Small says, well, zero chance of getting a Lep due to elite players? I don't know what you mean there. Certainly players with better traps have a slight advantage, but in that when they do encounter them, they're more likely to capture. But like I said, the main challenge for most of the prize mice is just encountering them to begin with, and everyone's pretty well on equal footing there, outside of maybe if you're hunting with Gouda, when you fail to attract, you don't have the opportunity to trigger a prize mouse encounter, so that would be probably the only disadvantage you might be at if you're using a cheese that doesn't have a high attraction rate. That said, there's plenty easy access to crafted cheese, so you might choose to pursue an adventure or go to an area where you're using crafted cheese that has 100% attraction in that area. Ashley asks, any benefits to being higher than Archduke for floating as, or didn't bother with higher rank benefits? We still want to keep that in mind. Nothing kind of came to immediate mind in terms of like obvious little niche benefits we could work into there. So at the moment, there's nothing planned, but who knows? I would like to maybe try to work that in during testing if we find inspiration of something that wouldn't increase kind of the scope too much. Q asks any base specific effects in floating islands? None planned at the moment, but the whole reward structure is still up in the air, so feel free to keep suggestions coming. Q says, I still hope there are multiple cheeses in the new area instead of just one. Well, at the moment, just one type of new cheese, but certainly Queso Canyon was a recent release that had a nice, for the hunters who like a very tiered cheese hunting experience, that was kind of done to the extreme there. Seems like there's at least 2 cheeses. Well, you will have to use kind of your standard cheese to collect an ingredient to then go on and make the special floating island cheese. And then that's, again, it's not a requirement, but it's going to really help you out. Brian says, any thoughts on having rainbow gilded maps, scavenger versions of Gilded and Jade when she eventually arrives? That's kind of an interesting suggestion. Like you kind of said on that Letters to Ronza broadcast, I guess I could just not sit in a black void there all alone. Like I said in the Letters to Ronza kind of feedback Friday there, that this Ronza visit is going to be relatively smaller scope than maybe some of other visits, just because the whole dev team is pretty much all hands on deck working on the floating islands. So she's not bringing too many new things this time around. Trevor says, thoughts, Reese, for floating islands, any goals or targets? We're getting there. I'm feeling much better now that everything's in a playable state. So it'll be, let me see, the giveaway is coming out next week. That's in July. Ronza will be arriving after the giveaway comes to an end, and the next week is August. So that seems like an okay bet or guess of when she might land sometime during that month. Halloween would be in October, and hey, nothing's happening in September, so that's kind of a nice goal if it would come out sometime in September for sure. Will there be an improvement to the team feature? It would be cool for floating islands, like a certain number of people in the group and hunt together. We experimented a bit with the Nonning Express there to try to bring the kind of team element to an area. And it was neat at first, but I think kind of the feedback after that was, well, when you move on, when people kind of move past that area and they're less interested in it, it's not the new, most exciting place to be, then it gets hard to find people to come and hunt with you and help you in that area. So that makes us a little kind of hesitant to bake that into an area in the future. Let's bring team members on a hunt, please. Yeah, for sure, that's needed a little bit of an overhaul. It's just kind of, unfortunately, hasn't been something we've been able to devote time to, is overhauling teams and tournaments. Alex says, what secrets are on the whiteboard? Well, speaking of the floating island cheese, I think, which side? This side. I was working on collecting that cheese and working through a few different options. For whatever reason, I usually do a lot in the spreadsheets and that and use calculators, but sometimes you just got to kind of write it out. I don't know, it's just more tactical, or not tactical. What's the word I'm looking for? Like it means touch, and it sounds like tactical, but it's not tactical. Any idea what new mic you will get from the GoFundMe campaign? I don't know. Maybe I'll follow suit with the ever so popular Yeti mic, but I don't know, we'll see. I'm probably long overdue. I should get a new mic, especially if people are complaining of sound quality now. Tactile, thank you. There's the word I'm looking for. It's more tactile, and even if when I'm learning something, I can read about it, but I gotta like do it. I gotta do the thing. I'm a very kind of, I learn by doing. Or even when I'm coding, I can read kind of about coding techniques, about that type of thing, but I gotta actually like kind of build something. I gotta get my hands dirty to really learn it. Agius asks the ever so popular question in the stream of what are the words for floating island. Feel free to suggest them, because it's still a little bit of a work in progress. We're just setting up the reward structure, kind of the economy of some of the endgame resources that you're going to collect from some of the rare and difficult to find islands. Michelle says not bringing a lot does not equal taking all your gold. Yeah, I guess you could bring one very expensive thing. But Q asks, can there be at least 4 different types of mice when farming the new cheese? That's interesting. Feedback? Let me double check. I think there are at least 4. I'm going to have to go soon because that neck pain is kicking in from looking down for this long. So we will make this the last question on this week's Feedback Friday. I'll reopen my floating island spreadsheet because that's where I'm going to be spending the rest of my afternoon after lunch break. Oh, where are those mice? So during that farming phase where you're collecting mice, there are 3 mice and then 1 that's super brie only. So yes, there are 4 mice. And right now there's the Skydiver, the Sky Greaser, the Launchpad Laborer, and the Cloud Miner are their names at the moment. And they are going to drop an item at the moment is called Cloud Curd, and you're going to use that to purchase a cloud-themed cheese to go and explore the islands with. And then similar to other areas, there's a mouse that is only attracted to Super Brie, and it always drops Cloud Curd in larger quantities than the other mice. So that'll be, you can speed up your farming a bit with Super Brie. As I said, that'll be the last question as my neck is starting to aggravate me just a little bit. So I'm going to go take a little lunch break, rest up, and then kind of get into the floating islands for the rest of the afternoon. So thank you for joining me, hunters. Next week, it will most likely be Jacob will be joining with you. And if I had to take a guess, he's probably going to illustrate something floating islands related, but maybe not. I think next week the traps are scheduled, if I recall correctly. I don't have that open, but I think it might be trap illustration, but I'll let him decide what he would like to paint and get feedback from the stream as he is painting. So I'll probably most likely see you in a couple weeks. Until then, happy hunting, and thanks for joining me.
1, 2. You're a trap, don't seem to mind it. You attract me, I'm a mouse, you're a cat, I don't seem to mind it. Soft and furry, oh, and just when I think I'm safe, snap. Turns out I'm never safe, snap. Just when you think you're safe, snap. I come back, you don't seem to mind it, but I'm a fool, broke my back, you don't seem to mind it, 'cause you're so cool, and just when I think I'm safe, snap, turns out I'm never safe, snap. Just when you think you're safe, snap. Turns out